Bun găsit la o nouă ediție a podcastului. Astăzi vorbim despre fonduri europene, vorbim despre proiecte pe care IMM România le are cu alte state, dar și despre reducerea amprentei de dioxid de carbon. Invitatul meu de astăzi, domnul Asmund Prytz, reprezentant SME Norway. Hello and welcome to our podcast.
Thanks a lot. It's a big honor to be here.
First of all, I'd like to discuss a little bit about the partnership between Norway and IMM România. First of all, why did you choose to work together? And I know you have 3 projects with the council.
Actually, it's been now going on for several years. It's been a very, very nice and good experience for us, from our side, from SME Norway. The background here is that Norway is not a member of the EU, but we are very closely connected to the EU, and we have some kind of special funds connected to Norway and Romania, because we are an EEA country, like European Economic Agreement zone. We are not the EU zone, but EEA zone. So this funding has been going on for several years. And we have known about it from our side, but we haven't really done anything with it. But what led to these projects, like in concrete, was that our director met with your former president, I think, was Florian, through SME United, who is the umbrella organization for SME Norway and also for SME Romania. So we are kind of sister organizations in that organization in Brussels. And they met and exchanged cards and said let's do something together. And some months later, I was connected by the director here, Denisa, and she said do you want to do something together here in Romania? And we were like, yeah, of course we'll.
How did you find Romania?
Fantastic. That our cooperation actually started out a little bit before COVID. So the first 2 years of our projects together was all COVID, was like only online projects, and it took time for me to actually come here. And the first time I was here was in 2022, I think, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I was very positively, I would not say surprised, but I have a very, very good feeling about Romania. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to travel here and be a part of this project and to get to know the people, my colleagues here in Romania, in SME Romania, and also several of the communities and districts across Romania. So it's been a fantastic experience, and also several of my colleagues from SME Norway has been to Romania, and we all are very happy about it.
Yeah, I know you have now a project based on the reduction of CO emissions.
Yes.
And also you launch a program for IMM, an application.
Yes.
So tell me why it is crucial to reduce the CO emission and how you can see this in the new context of Trump inauguration in the USA, because in the last days after Trump inauguration, everyone is talking about his announcement regarding the CO emission, and that why he encouraged to drill and not to be part of the CO transition.
Yeah, this is a big question, of course, and also especially with the tail you're putting on it with the Trump situation and everything. But first, I would say like Norway is quite like an environmentally friendly country. Most people in Norway try to keep things clean and the nature and very connected to nature. And I think everybody sees in Norway now we have had like huge storms, we have had like floodings, we have things that they can of course be natural disasters, but you also feel that there's things happening in nature here. Where's the snow? It used to be like 1 meter of snow.
Also
6
in
months,
Romania, the same
it's like what's happening, and it's a bit complicated. And also the costs of these things. The rains, for example, in Oslo, destroying the roads. It's a huge cost with this kind of natural disasters.
So
And
do you think Europe will remain the old lady who will keep this climate
so
change environment
that's kind of the
friendly?
this next question when you kind of put on the Trump situation on top of it, because I think most people in Norway are kind of we don't love the restrictions and the climate things, but I think a majority of the population see that maybe it's best to be like kind of an insurance thing. Let's try to be a little bit upfront on these things and try to reduce our part. And also we have a little bit of, I think, like the oil and gas has been a blessing to Norway, but there's also a little bit like we have a responsibility. We need to also be
sustainable. In
yes,
the
exactly.
This is the
yes,
exactly word.
So I think for us it's kind of came quite easily to be a part of this Paris Agreement. There was not a big discussion in society. And we were kind of seeing that kind of reducing, but slowly, or CO2 emissions. But of course, now with Trump again pulling out of Paris, it's a bit complicated with the, like Norway being such a very, very small country. We are big oil producers, so we feel responsibility for this. But with Trump coming in office and pulling out of the Paris Agreement, Europe is kind of left alone.
Exactly.
And I think this is so new. Well, everybody kind of knew about it for some months, but we didn't really see it happening until the signature was there.
Exactly,
yeah.
He signed the order.
Yes, exactly. And then, so this is something that must be discussed on a political level.
For sure.
We have elections in Norway in September. I'm sure this will also be one of the topics that will pop up in the election process. But I don't think any party in Norway has kind of been outspoken about pulling out of Paris. There's no parties been outspoken about this. There's parties have been reluctant about the restrictions and like, hey, why should we do this? This is just a joke. China is like, emissions are like,
and maybe to postpone some terms.
Exactly. Things like this. But nobody has been like, hey, let's pull out of Paris. That's it.
And forget about it.
Yeah. Nobody has said that so far. Let's see now in the coming months what's the situation.
Why it is so important for SMEs, for small and medium enterprises, to have an application and to measure the imprint of CO2 emissions?
Well, first, it's kind of regulatory, it's moving in that direction, like from Brussels, from the capitals across Europe, they're all moving in that direction. I see your point.
Specific directory.
Yes, I see your point now with Trump, and that might be kind of a game changer. But if you keep that aside, the direction is like, let's try to do what we can do, and even if it's small things, let's try to do what we can do, and let's try to measure it in a way, because next step is probably going to be like, okay, if you're reducing your emissions, you're maybe more likely to have some grants. You're more likely to have some tax exemptions, better financing, which is already in place for money measures. So I think that's like the monetary reasons for this is important. But also I think most business owners and people working in SMEs are they would like to see something good. They'd like to participate and reduce the emissions.
What about the renewable energy? Because nowadays, also in Romania, also in many countries of Europe, we are talking about renewable and the importance of being green from this point of view.
This is also something which has been very heavily discussed in Norway, especially when it comes to the prices on energy. Because Norway, as we have been used to having a surplus of energy, a lot of energy, because we have very good conditions for water hydropower, because we have a lot of rain, we have high mountains with steep, like down to the fjords, a lot of energy easily produced. But the time for the big, like this kind of big hydropower plants are gone. There's no more, like, as I said earlier, like Norwegians are also very proud of the untouched nature, and we don't want to pick these huge plants anymore. So that's a problem, and also what we see that, of course, the outbreak of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, it drove the prices over the roof. But we're also more connected now with cables to the Netherlands and Denmark, who are more heavily into windmills. And the days when it's not blowing and it's often cold, on those cold days, it's a lot of electricity going out of Norway, and people are getting like, what the fuck? Sorry,
Yeah.
why should we pay so much for the like the consumers in the continent using? So that this is also, it's a touchy issue, political, and also like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there was seldom you saw a computer. There was no phones. There was no electric cars. No. Everything is electric in Norway. A lot of things is in electric. We use a lot more electricity per person for heating, for lighting, and we have been, the energy has been abundant in Norway. We used to it, and also to some extent we need it. It's a very cold country. It's a very long and dark, like up north.
Yeah.
It's a very dark
so it
country.
consume a lot of energy.
Per capita, we consume a lot of energy, and we still have we have not made a transition into more like savings on energy. We kind of used of just using energy because they didn't have any cost. Now it has a cost, and people are kind of feeling that cost, and we need to kind of adjust to that feeling and try to make a balance between the production and the demand of energy. But it's not an easy task, and it's also heavily discussed. Is something which is also like the gas platforms.
Yeah.
If they should be electrified with electricity from land, and that's of course consuming the same energy as the whole of Norway.
Yeah, it's a different model. I was thinking regarding Romania, because here in Romania we are at the beginning of using the electric cars, for example. And as I know, in the last few months, these electric cars downgrade the number of the electric cars. So Romanians they are not very open
I think
to buy the electric
for
car.
Norway, there's been electric cars in Norway has been quite a success, but there's also been heavily economic incentives, because a normal car in Norway is heavily taxed, and there's very little tax on electric cars, and that made it very attractive to buy electric cars. And I think also most people see that when they start driving an electric car, they're like, wow, we love it. There's no noise. Everything is super smooth. We charge it at home. We don't
in
need
Romania,
to
for example, we need
station.
to develop the infrastructure. First of all.
Yeah. Also the grid situation, but also one thing, like my parents, they live in a remote area and they have electric cars, and it's quite easy because you charge it at home in your garage, and you can. For most days, you can use it. You never charge it anywhere else than at home. So even if you live in a remote area, it's quite practical. But of course, the one day you need to drive 2,000
very far away, it's very hard to.
Yeah, then you need this kind of network and.
Regarding the Norway and how you can manage to reduce the CO emission, this is the key to use more electric.
Well, transport is a big thing in, of course, Norway, but the private cars now, the new private cars sold in Norway is kind of, I think it's almost 90%. So it's huge.
It's huge, yeah.
It's huge, and there was a lot of joking about the electric cars, like 8 years ago. But as I said, most people have kind of wow, this car is actually
works
better than my old car. So. There's no jokes anymore. It's like, this is a car and I'm using it. This is what I have.
So you are a model for Europe, if I can
to some extent, but depending on the energy, because we have clean energy, we have green energy, we have water, hydropower to fuel those cars. So in that sense, it's kind of, but if you need like coal to produce electricity, I'm not so sure how or if that's a good idea, but. And also, I guess the most environmentally friendly is to just drive an old car and use it as long as you can. So it's also depending a little bit. There's a lot of variables there. But the transport sector is of course important, and the transition from private cars to heavy cars, heavy like trucks, it's not so smooth. there have been quite a lot of the trials with hydrogen. It's an effective thing, but they haven't really broken through like electric cars have done. Like we also do the same with the boat traffic. The boat traffic is quite heavy in Norway. I guess also in Norway, in Romania, you have a lot of coastal traffic and also with the inland with the rivers, but we haven't been able to transform, you know, like to another energy sources in the shipping field. There's some exemption in the aquaculture, but aquaculture is kind of easier because it's kind of close to the shore, and most of the boats, they go out to the farm and back in the afternoon, and they can charge the boat and they can have. So there's some experiments in that sector, but for more of the maritime transport, there's still a way to go. Of course, the motors are more clean; they're better than they were like some years ago, but still.
From your point of view, do you think it is important that the government fix or give the direct specific set politics, for example, to reduce the CO or to make people understand the benefits? Which one goes well to the public, to the
my
citizens?
personal view is like go with the incentives. I think that's people like to be tempted to do things, not punished for not. So I'm that kind of person. Like
to make them understand which is the good way for them, for their children, and from the future.
Yes, but I think like incentives, because politics are kind of it's so connected to people's choices. You know, like there's always a political decision behind most of people's choices in daily life, and I think if you can give people incentives, it's a good thing. And that's a little bit the problematic now especially with the high energy prices in Norway for the small and medium-sized business.
Everywhere in Europe, also in Romania, we have big problems with the high prices of energy and for gas, for example, because they had to make the gas price, for example, at a minimum price to be held by the government, but I don't know how long the government can afford to do this for the population.
This is also a little bit the same in the situation in Norway, especially with electricity, and there's subsidies to consumers. They get the subsidy if the prices are, you know, like crazy high. There's a cap on the price, and there's a subsidy. But for the SMEs, there's no subsidy. So like if you're a baker or somebody who needs to spend a lot of energy, it's kind of.
You have to buy at the market prices.
Yes, market prices, and then you can easily go out of business if you're like running a swimming pool or a sauna or something like where you need a lot of energy. It's very rough, and you cannot really have a stable energy price over time. So that's complicated.
Yeah, it's very complicated, and maybe you can help the small and medium enterprises, for example, to calculate their CO2 emission and to have, I don't know, some facilities maybe, or if they are
I think
less
that's one
emissions.
of the nice things with this project is to raise the awareness on these things, and also try to measure things. Where can I, as a business, save energy? Where can I adjust to my business to the energy prices,
and maybe to help them to be more to have more benefits from the banks, for example, because there are less emissions.
Yes, as you have less emissions, you're more likely to have better funding, also from banks. So this is
a way to help them to survive in this very difficult period of time.
Yeah, it's complicated to maneuver, but if you have these tools and you know what you're doing, you have a clear overview over your emissions, and also maybe see more easily where you can save, where you can kind of cut emissions, and use that as a business tool towards banks, grants, customers. I think that's something good, absolutely.
We still can discuss about the net transition, zero emissions in Europe. Or it's just the desiderate which will be, I don't know, in the future.
I think most countries in Europe are quite serious about the zero emissions, and they're moving quite fast toward this. The EU is kind of pushing it, Brussels is pushing it. and you may like it or dislike it, but maybe it's, if you go with the flow, it makes your life a little bit easier, I think. And Europe is making progress, absolutely. But of course, it's also it's a complicated political landscape right now, and
it's
you see
a geopolitical and geostrategical
decision
regarding the movement all around the world.
Exactly. So it's a bit like complicated for this very important project, of course, but it's in that perspective, it's also complicated to see the full picture.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see what will happen in the future, for example. And what about your project? What kind of project do you have for the future regarding Romania?
We are from SME Norway. We're very happy with our cooperation, and especially our partner here with SME Romania, and we are eagerly waiting now for new calls to come out. I think the agreement was signed with Romania and Norway.
So in this year it will...
That's what we're hoping for. We would love to do more projects. We'd love to get to know Romania better and
Do you have some specific topics regarding the new funds, for example?
I'm pretty sure there's going to be funds available for green transition still, because it's going to be an important thing the next
many years.
Yeah. Even Paris or no Paris, or Trump or no Trump, or climate or no climate, the price of energy is going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
so especially in the business segment. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be calls in that field. I'm pretty sure there's going to be calls in like social dialogue, which is also very interesting, coming from a business association, working with SMEs. It's this kind of social dialogue is also sometimes a bit complicated because it's family businesses. It's your brother, it's your wife, it's your uncle. Like all combined in the same company, and how to deal with all people in a good way, and also deal with the business structure and the government and
exactly. We also have the same
regulations,
issues here in Romania.
So this is very, very interesting. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be calls on these things. And also, I think gender and gender balance is also something that will be promoted in the new calls. And then, let's see how it develops. But Romania has a lot of interesting businesses and a lot of products and services, and with I'm sure it's more interest in Norway for exchange and for cooperations in the future.
We are an interesting country for many investors.
Yeah.
Because we started to do our businesses, if we are talking about the SMEs, for example, we are looking also abroad, not only to make inside things in Romania, to develop in different countries, so it will be an exchange.
I think that's very interesting, and I think it's also very helpful for our members, and it's an eye-opener to visit a country like Romania and to see how you do things here and what we can learn from you guys. And I think that's also very important when you run a business, to always be kind of open for new ideas, to see market potential, or and also there's a quite huge Romanian diaspora in Norway, which is also interesting. I think it's more than 30,000 Romanians, living in Norway. So that's actually quite interesting. Also from market purposes, but also with knowledge about the countries.
So they are doing business there?
I guess so. I know that because I met the ambassador actually this autumn before the elections, and the northernmost polling station was in Tromsø, in very, very north in Norway. So he was kind of proud of it. We got the most northern voting station, and then he said there's 30,000 people living here. So it's that's quite interesting as well. And
it's an interesting and an important community.
It's a very important community.
That's why, and this is a big reason to have an exchange between our countries.
It's very important, and it's very interesting to keep this exchange and this dialogue going. I think that's super important, and also the communication is better. There's now in the winter it's 2 flights a week, but I think in April there's going to be a daily flight probably. So also for, not just for learning, but also for tourism, and also both ways because also it's interesting. It's a different but similar country, I would say, because we have the mountains, we have the sea, we have the oil, we have the.
This is the beauty, to be different, but also to have the similar points.
Exactly. So I think that's a strategic country, also with the Black Sea, but we have the Atlantic Sea. So it's very. There's a lot of similarities and a lot of things to learn from each other and to be inspired by, and try to make your own business better and your business community better, and yourself and your employees and everybody having a more interesting
Asmund,
job.
It was a pleasure to discuss with you. Hope to see you soon in another podcast to discuss about future projects with IMM România. Vă mulțumesc foarte mult că ați fost alături de noi și ne vom regăsi într-un alt podcast în care vom discuta cu siguranță despre impactul deciziilor luate la nivel mondial în ceea ce înseamnă amprenta, reducerea amprentei de dioxid de carbon, dar și alte subiecte extrem de interesante care ne afectează sau nu viața tuturor. Pe curând!
Thank you.
Acest podcast a fost realizat în cadrul proiectului IMM România, proiect cofinanțat de Uniunea Europeană.